Some conversations change everything. The one I overheard last Tuesday destroyed my family and saved my dignity. My son Bradley thought he was so clever, manipulating his confused old father into signing away my $850,000 house. Through a phone he forgot to hang up, I heard every detail of his plan to rob me, blind. The geezer has no clue, he told his wife. We'll have him in a home by Christmas. I'd just spent 6 months helping him save his failing business, writing check after check, believing in his promises. Elena, my late wife, had made me swear to keep our home in the family. I thought that meant trusting our son. But as I stood there, listening to Bradley mock my intelligence while planning to steal my life's work, I realized I'd been protecting the wrong family. But before I tell you how this ended, let me know in the comments. Where are you listening from, and what time is it there? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of quiet justice. You see, I'm Samuel Crawford, and I didn't spend 40 years as an estate attorney to be outmaneuvered by my own ungrateful child. What happened next would teach him exactly why you should never underestimate a quiet old man with nothing left to lose. I built my legal practice from nothing back in 1983. Fresh out of law school, Elena pregnant with Bradley, working 18-hour days to make partner at Henderson and Associates. I specialized in estate planning, wills, trusts, protecting families' legacies when death threatened to tear them apart. For 4 decades, I watched families destroy themselves over money. I swore mine would be different. The irony tastes bitter now. Elena and I spent 2 years building our house with our own hands. Every weekend, we'd drive to the construction site. I'd hammer nails until my palms bled. Elena would paint trim boards, her dress covered in primer stains. We poured concrete footings in freezing rain. We installed every light fixture, every cabinet door, but I specialized in the very thing that would save me. Bradley was 3 when we moved in. He took his first steps on those hardwood floors I'd sanded and stained myself. Elena carved his height marks into the kitchen doorframe, Christmas mornings around the tree we'd planted in the front yard. 38 years of memories embedded in every room. When Elena died 3 years ago, she made me promise. Keep it in the family, Samuel. Bradley will need this someday. Her hand was so cold in mine. The cancer had taken everything except her love for our son. I thought I was protecting our legacy. The funeral was the last time I saw Bradley cry. Real tears, not the crocodile tears that would come later when he needed money. He stood beside me at Elena's graveside, his arm around my shoulders. "Dad, I'll always take care of you," he whispered. "This is still your home, always." I believed him. The house appraised at $850,000 last spring. Not because of size, it's modest by today's standards, but location matters in our neighborhood, and we'd maintained everything perfectly. New roof 2 years ago, updated electrical throughout. Elena's garden still blooms every spring, just like she planned it. Every morning I sit in her chair by the kitchen window. I watch her roses climb the trellis we built together. The morning sun hits the stained glass panel she picked out. Purple and gold, her favorite colors. The coffee tastes different now. Everything does. Bradley started visiting more after the funeral, bringing Jennifer, his wife of 5 years. They'd walk through the house, commenting on the space, the potential. "Such a waste for one person," Jennifer would say, thinking I couldn't hear. "All this room just sitting empty." I ignored the signs. Bradley's business struggles began last winter, some investment software company that never quite took off. He'd borrowed against everything, their house, their cars, Jennifer's jewelry. The stress was eating him alive. Dark circles under his eyes. Weight loss. Constant phone calls from creditors. I thought I was helping when I started writing checks. Each signature brought me closer to disaster. The disrespect started small. Little comments about my outdated thinking. Eye rolls when I'd share stories from my law practice. "Dad, that's not how things work anymore," Bradley would say, his voice carrying that patient tone you'd use with a confused child. Jennifer was worse. She'd interrupt my sentences, finish my thoughts with incorrect assumptions. "What Samuel means is," she'd tell other people, as if I couldn't speak for myself. Her smiles never reached her eyes. I should have seen the pattern. Family dinners became interrogations. Dad, are you taking your medications correctly? Have you thought about simplifying your finances? This house is really too much for you to handle alone. They'd exchange glances when they thought I wasn't looking, quick, meaningful looks that said more than their words. Last month, Bradley offered to help organize my important papers. He spent an entire Saturday in my office going through filing cabinets, asking about insurance policies, bank accounts, investment statements. Dad, you've got everything scattered. Let me set up a system that makes sense. I was grateful for his attention. He started accompanying me to the bank, standing beside me at the teller window, explaining transactions I'd been handling for 50 years. The staff began addressing their questions to him instead of me. "And what would Mr. Crawford like to do today?" the manager would ask, looking at Bradley. My son would answer before I could open my mouth. The humiliation was becoming a habit. I was about to discover just how desperate he'd become. Bradley's business was hemorrhaging money faster than I could pump it in. First, it was $20,000 to bridge a cash flow gap, then $35,000 for essential equipment upgrades. By spring, I'd written checks totaling nearly $80,000. "This is temporary, Dad. The contracts are coming. Big ones. I'll pay back every penny with interest." His handshakes felt firm. His eye contact seemed sincere. I wanted to believe him. Each check I wrote was another link in the chain. Jennifer started joining our financial conversations. She'd sit beside Bradley in my living room, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. "We really appreciate this, Samuel," she'd say, using my first name like we were equals instead of family. "Bradley's so lucky to have a father who understands business." But I understood more than they realized. The requests grew larger. 50,000 for a game-changing marketing campaign, but 40,000 for critical payroll. I watched my savings account shrink like ice in summer sun. Elena's emergency fund, the money she'd set aside for our retirement, disappeared into Bradley's failing venture. "Dad, I know this is hard, but think of it as investing in your son's future. When this takes off, you'll be set for life. We all will be." The promises kept coming. The payments never did. By autumn, Bradley stopped mentioning repayment timelines. The conversation shifted to family support, and "we're all in this together." Jennifer would nod sympathetically when I'd ask about return schedules. "These things take time, Samuel. You understand." I was beginning to understand more than they wanted me to. Last December, Bradley suggested updating my estate planning documents. "Dad, some of this paperwork is 20 years old. Tax laws have changed. You need modern protection." He was right, technically. Estate law evolves constantly. Regulations shift. New strategies emerge. As a retired attorney, I should have been more vigilant about keeping documents current. I found this great lawyer, Angela Morrison. She specializes in elder estate planning. Very reasonable rates. Bradley had already made the appointment. "I can drive you there, help explain your situation." Morrison's office felt sterile. Too much white marble, too many diplomas on the walls. She spoke to Bradley more than to me, explaining concepts I'd been practicing since before she was born. "Your father's current will is quite outdated. We should modernize everything." The new documents made Bradley a co-owner of the house. "For protection purposes," Morrison explained. "If something happens to your father, the transfer will be seamless. No probate delays, no legal complications." It seemed reasonable. I trusted my son, but the real trap was subtler. Hidden in subsection clauses and technical language were provisions giving Bradley increasing authority over my affairs. Medical decisions, financial transactions, property management. Standard protective measures, Morrison assured me. Family-centered planning. I signed everything they put in front of me. The documents included power of attorney provisions I didn't fully examine, digital signature authorizations for banking and investment accounts, emergency access protocols that would activate under broadly defined circumstances. Bradley watched me sign each page, his expression carefully neutral. Jennifer waited in the lobby, reading magazines about home renovation. Every signature brought me closer to disaster. Looking back, I see how perfectly they'd maneuvered me into legal vulnerability. The papers were already in motion. Bradley introduced electronic document management gradually. Dad, everything's digital now. Banks, lawyers, insurance companies, they all prefer electronic signatures. It's faster, more secure. My arthritis makes traditional writing painful some days. My handwriting, once crisp and professional, now looks shaky even on good days. Electronic signatures seemed like a reasonable accommodation. Here, let me show you how this works. Bradley would position his laptop on my kitchen table, explaining systems I'd never seen before. Digital forms with fields to complete, signature pads that captured my writing electronically, cloud storage for document management. I signed things I couldn't even read on the screen. The learning curve felt steep. Font sizes that required reading glasses. Navigation menus I couldn't follow. Password requirements I couldn't remember. Bradley became my translator for the digital world. Don't worry about understanding everything, Dad. I'll handle the technical stuff. You just focus on the important decisions. But who is making those decisions? Gradually, Bradley started pre-filling forms for efficiency. Dad, I've entered all your basic information already. You just need to review and sign. The documents would appear on screen with my name, address, and financial details already completed. The review process became perfunctory. Everything look right? He'd ask, scrolling through pages of dense text. Just sign here, here, and here. I started relying on his summaries instead of reading full documents. This one's just updating your bank information. This one's authorizing electronic transfers. Standard stuff. My careful lawyer's habit of reading every clause slowly deteriorated into trusting my son's interpretations. Electronic signatures are binding legal instruments. I was creating enforceable obligations with every click, every stylus stroke, every typed agreement to terms and conditions I'd never actually read. By November, my financial situation had created the perfect opportunity for Bradley's plan. My liquid assets had shrunk to dangerous levels. Savings accounts that once held Elena's security fund now showed balances that wouldn't last 6 months. Dad, we need to talk about your cash flow situation. Bradley's voice carried new authority. You can't keep depleting savings at this rate. Jennifer joined these conversations now. Her yellow legal pad replaced by a tablet computer. She'd pull up spreadsheets showing my declining account balances, projected expenses, and concerning trends. The house is your biggest asset, she'd explain, pointing at pie charts on her screen. But it's not generating income. It's actually costing you. Taxes, maintenance, utilities. For someone on a fixed income, that's problematic. They presented solutions. Reverse mortgage options, equity lines of credit, strategic refinancing to unlock value. Each proposal involved converting home equity into available cash. Think of it as making your house work for you instead of against you, Bradley explained. Elena would want you to be financially secure. The documents they showed me looked professional. Bank letterheads, attorney review stamps, government compliance certifications. Everything appeared legitimate, properly prepared, legally sound. I should have examined them more carefully, but my arthritis was worse in winter. Reading small print triggered headaches. Financial stress was exhausting. Bradley's explanations seemed reasonable, and I wanted to trust him. Dad, I've done all the research. These are the best options available. Just sign where I've marked, and we'll handle everything else. Every signature mattered. I was signing transfer documents disguised as loan applications, property deeds disguised as refinancing paperwork, authority transfers disguised as protective planning. The trap was set. My son was systematically stealing my life's work, and I was providing the signatures he needed to make it legal. Bradley's business collapsed completely in January. The final death blow came when his biggest client pulled their contract, demanding refund of advance payments Bradley had already spent. Creditors started calling the house directly, looking for him. Mr. Crawford, your son owes us $43,000. Payment was due 6 weeks ago. We need to arrange immediate settlement, or we'll be forced to pursue collection remedies. I'd answer these calls myself. Bradley had stopped coming by as frequently. When he did visit, he looked desperate. Unshaved, unwashed clothes. The confident businessman facade was cracking. Jennifer's patience was evaporating too. I'd hear them arguing in the driveway after family dinners. Her voice sharp, accusatory. You promised me this would work. You said your father would help us. Figure it out, Bradley, or I'm done. But the marriage was fracturing under financial pressure. Bradley's requests for help became demands. Dad, I need $50,000 immediately. The bank is threatening foreclosure on our house. Jennifer's talking about taking the kids and leaving. You have to help us. But my resources were nearly exhausted. The house, Dad. That's where the real money is. $850,000 just sitting there. You could help us and still have plenty left over. His suggestions grew more direct, selling the house and moving into something smaller, adding him as co-owner for estate planning purposes, transferring the deed temporarily as collateral for business loans. I was about to discover just how desperate he'd become. The final trap was already prepared. Bradley just needed the right moment to spring it. One more signature session, one more routine update to my legal documents. He'd scheduled it for the following Tuesday. That dinner was the last normal moment we'd ever share. The disrespect started showing at family gatherings. Small corrections that felt like paper cuts. Dad, that's not quite right, Bradley would say when I'd tell stories about my law career. The case you're thinking of was different. He'd interrupt my conversations with other family members. What Dad means is, or, let me explain what actually happened. His tone stayed respectful enough that others wouldn't notice, but the message was clear. I couldn't be trusted to speak for myself. Jennifer developed a habit of speaking about me in third person while I sat right there. Samuel's been having trouble with technology lately, she'd tell my neighbors. We're trying to help him simplify things. It started small, but patterns always grow. During Christmas dinner, Bradley corrected my recollection of Elena's favorite Christmas tradition. Mom liked the candlelight service at midnight, not the afternoon one. And he was wrong. Elena and I had attended Christmas afternoon services for 37 years straight. But when I said so, Bradley shook his head sympathetically. Dad, your memory's playing tricks on you again. The other family members grew quiet. Uncomfortable silence filled the dining room. Bradley's cousins studied their plates. Jennifer smiled that tight smile that never reached her eyes. I felt heat rising in my chest. Embarrassment mixed with anger. But I stayed silent. After dinner, my nephew Mike pulled me aside. Uncle Samuel, are you okay? Bradley seems pretty controlling. He looked concerned, confused by the dynamic he'd witnessed. That was the first time someone else noticed what was happening. By February, Bradley stopped pretending to respect my opinions at all. He'd wave his hand dismissively when I'd speak. Dad doesn't understand modern business, he'd tell people right in front of me. His information's 30 years out of date. The public humiliation grew bolder. At the bank, he started answering questions the teller directed to me. My father's having trouble following complex financial concepts, he'd explain. I handle his accounts now. I'd stand there, silent, feeling my professional reputation crumble in front of people who'd known me for decades. My own family was watching me be humiliated. Bradley brought Jennifer to my doctor's appointment without asking. They sat in the examination room while Dr. Peterson discussed my arthritis medication. We're concerned about Dad's cognitive function, Bradley told the doctor. Memory issues, confusion about dates and names. Jennifer nodded along. He's been making concerning decisions lately, financial choices that don't make sense. Dr. Peterson looked uncomfortable. He'd been my physician for 15 years. He knew my mental state perfectly well, but Bradley's presentation was convincing, concerned, reasonable. Perhaps we should discuss some basic cognitive screening, the doctor suggested gently. I felt like a stranger in my own life. After the appointment, Bradley drove me home. Dad, we're just looking out for you. Mom would want us to make sure you're safe. His voice carried that patronizing tone I was learning to hate. That night, I realized I was becoming a prisoner in my own house. March brought complete role reversal. Bradley stopped asking for my input on anything. He'd schedule medical appointments for me, arrange home maintenance visits, even choose my groceries during shopping trips. Dad, you don't need to worry about these details anymore. I've got everything handled. He started intercepting my mail. Just sorting out the important stuff from the junk, he'd explain, carrying stack of envelopes I'd never see again. Phone calls, too. Let me talk to them, Dad. These customer service people are easier to deal with when you speak their language. I was becoming a stranger in my own life. Bradley discussed my capabilities with neighbors over the fence. Mrs. Henderson told me later that he'd asked her to keep an eye on Dad because I was showing signs of confusion. Mr. Davis mentioned that Bradley had warned him about my wandering and asked to be notified if I seemed disoriented. My own son was systematically destroying my reputation in the community. The worst moment came during a visit from Elena's sister, Margaret. Bradley spent 20 minutes explaining my declining condition while I sat right there. We're exploring assisted living options. Dad's not safe living alone anymore. Margaret looked shocked. She'd known me for 40 years. Samuel seems fine to me, she said carefully. Oh, Aunt Margaret, he puts on a good show for visitors, but the day-to-day reality is concerning. I excused myself to the bathroom and stood there, gripping the sink, feeling my world dissolve around me. That Tuesday dinner seemed normal on the surface. Bradley and Jennifer arrived with a bottle of wine and forced smiles. Thought we'd cook for you tonight, Dad. You shouldn't have to eat alone so often. Jennifer bustled around my kitchen like she owned it, reorganizing spice cabinets and commenting on my grocery choices. Samuel, you really should eat more vegetables, and this bread is full of sodium. Bradley set the table using Elena's good china. Mom's plates deserve to be used, he said, but something felt calculated about the gesture, like he was staging a scene. Dinner conversation felt rehearsed. They asked about my health, my sleep, my medication schedule. Jennifer took notes on her phone. Just want to make sure you're taking care of yourself. After dessert, Bradley pulled out his laptop. Dad, we brought some paperwork to review. Just updating a few things we discussed before. Nothing major. The documents looked familiar. Bank signature cards. Investment account authorizations. Property management agreements. Same stuff we've been working on, Bradley explained. Just need a couple more signatures to finalize everything. I was getting tired. The wine made concentration difficult. The forms blurred together on the laptop screen. Bradley guided my finger to each signature field. There, and there. Perfect. Jennifer cleaned up the dishes while Bradley packed away the computer. Thanks for a lovely evening, she said, kissing my cheek. That dinner was the last normal moment we'd ever share. The call came the next evening while I was washing dishes. Bradley's voice through the kitchen speaker, clear as if he were standing beside me. He'd called about picking up some tools from the garage, but I could hear him shuffling papers, distracted. Okay, Dad, I'll grab them tomorrow. Talk to you later. The line went quiet, but the call didn't disconnect. Bradley must have set his phone down without hanging up. I reached for the kitchen extension to end the call, but then I heard Jennifer's voice. Is he still on the line? No, the old fool hung up. Can't even work a simple phone. My hands froze over the soapy water. I should have hung up. I wish I had. Did you get the signatures you needed? Jennifer's voice carried excitement, anticipation. Every single one. The transfer documents are complete. The power of attorney is ironclad. Everything we need to move the house into our name. The plate slipped from my fingers into the sink. Suds scattered across the counter. And he has no idea what he signed? Bradley's laugh was cold, satisfied. Dad's too stupid to read what he's signing. I could have put anything in front of him. The arthritis story worked perfectly. He's grateful for the help with electronic documents. My chest felt like ice was spreading through my ribs. 38 years of trust, shattered by my son's casual cruelty. When do we make the move? Tomorrow. I file the paperwork at the courthouse and the house transfers to our names. Then we start the process of getting him into Shady Oaks. Jennifer's voice grew sharper with excitement. The nursing home? It's not really a nursing home. More like affordable senior housing. Medicaid covers most of it. Basic room, basic care. Nothing fancy, but he won't need much. My knees went weak. Shady Oaks had a reputation in town. Understaffed. Overpriced. The kind of place where old people went to be forgotten. How much will we clear on the house sale? Realtor thinks we can get $850, maybe $900 if we stage it right. After closing costs and paying off Dad's debts, we're looking at about 700,000 profit. 700,000? They'd calculated my life's value down to the penny. Bradley, this feels so wrong. He's your father. For a moment, hope flickered in my chest. Maybe Jennifer had a conscience. Maybe she'd stop this madness. Jenny, he's a burden. The house is wasted on him. One old man rattling around in 4 bedrooms. Think about what we can do with that money. Jake's college fund. Emma's orthodontics. Our debt gone forever. But what if he fights us? What if he realizes what happened? Bradley's laugh was sharp, dismissive. Fight us with what? I control his finances now. I have power of attorney, medical decision authority. And honestly, Jenny, his mind is going. The family has seen it. The neighbors know it. Who's going to believe him? I heard every detail of my own destruction. The refrigerator hummed. The faucet dripped. My world collapsed in the silence between their words. He signed his own death warrant and thanked me for helping. When do you file the papers? Jennifer asked. First thing tomorrow. County Records Office opens at 8. By noon, the house legally belongs to us. Dad won't even know until the notices arrive in the mail. And then? I'll break it to him gently. Explain that his financial situation required some emergency planning, that we had to act quickly to protect his assets from creditors. Make it sound like we saved him from bankruptcy. My stomach turned. Even the lies were pre-planned. What if he gets suspicious? Jenny, look at him. The man can't remember to take his medications half the time. He signs documents without reading them. Yesterday he asked me twice about the same conversation. His mind is gone. That was a lie. I'd never repeated a conversation, never missed medications. But I stayed silent because I didn't want to look foolish. The timing works perfectly, Bradley continued. Tax season is coming. I'll tell him the transfers were necessary for estate tax optimization. Use big words he won't understand. Make him feel stupid for questioning my expertise. Jennifer's voice carried doubt. But what if someone else gets suspicious? Your cousin Mike seemed concerned at Christmas. Mike lives in California. Uncle David's in Florida. Dad has no close friends left since Mom died. Who's going to advocate for him? The isolation was complete. They'd identified every potential ally, every possible threat to their plan. By summer, he'll be settled in his new place, and we'll be debt-free homeowners. This house will finally serve its purpose. The cruelty was breathtaking in its precision. I stood in that kitchen for an hour after the call ended. The dishwater grew cold around my hands. Soap bubbles dissolved into greasy film. My reflection in the window looked like a stranger, pale, hollow-eyed, defeated. Elena's face smiled at me from the refrigerator photo. Our wedding day, 42 years ago. She'd trusted me to protect what we'd built together. I'd failed her completely. But that's when the attorney in me woke up. The initial shock was giving way to something colder, more focused. Bradley had made a critical error in his assessment. My mind wasn't going, my memory was sharp. And 40 years of estate law practice had taught me things about document manipulation that my son couldn't imagine. I walked slowly upstairs to my office. Each step felt deliberate, purposeful. The floorboards creaked under my feet, sounds I'd heard 10,000 times, in a house I'd built with my own hands. My office door opened with its familiar squeak. Elena had always meant to oil those hinges. Now I was grateful for the sound. It announced my presence, warned potential eavesdroppers. The filing cabinet key hung on its usual hook behind my desk lamp. 4 decades of legal documents, contracts, case files, and professional contacts. Everything Bradley thought he understood about my capabilities, my resources, my network of allies. He was about to learn how much he didn't know about his stupid father. The real Samuel Crawford was finally awake. The locked filing cabinet held more than old case files. Business cards from attorneys across 3 counties. Professional relationships spanning 40 years. Law school classmates who'd become judges, prosecutors, and senior partners at major firms. My Rolodex was ancient but complete. Diana Walsh had been my associate at Henderson and Associates for 15 years before opening her own practice. She specialized in elder law now, protecting seniors from exactly what Bradley was attempting. I had resources they never imagined. My license was inactive but current. Continuing education completed. Bar association membership maintained. Professional liability insurance kept active through retirement. I could still practice law in emergency situations. More importantly, I still understood estate law better than any young attorney Bradley might hire. I knew the loopholes, the protections, the emergency procedures that could stop document fraud in its tracks. The Martindale Legal Directory listed my professional rating as AV preeminent, the highest possible peer review ranking, 40 years of ethical practice, complex case victories, and professional respect. Bradley thought he was manipulating a confused old man. He was actually attempting to defraud a retired attorney with an impeccable reputation and intimate knowledge of the exact laws he was breaking. My computer still worked fine. Email account active. Legal database access through BAT retired member services. Everything I needed to research current statute requirements and procedural safeguards. By midnight, I had a comprehensive understanding of my son's legal vulnerabilities. By sunrise, I had the perfect plan. Estate law includes powerful protections against exactly what Bradley was attempting: emergency revocation procedures, fraud invalidation mechanisms, immediate protective orders for vulnerable adults. But I wanted something more elegant than simple legal defense. Bradley's plan relied on forged signatures and document manipulation. He'd created a paper trail of fraud that would destroy him professionally and legally. But first, I needed to let him complete his crime. The beauty of his scheme was also its weakness. Every forged signature, every falsified document, every fraudulent filing would create prosecutable felony charges. Wire fraud for electronic submissions, mail fraud for any postal filings, elder abuse under state statutes. My counter strategy was simple: let Bradley hang himself with his own rope. But I'd add a few knots he wasn't expecting. New documents needed to be prepared immediately. A completely revised will that superseded everything Bradley thought he controlled. Trust instruments that protected the house permanently. Charitable designations that would prevent any family member from ever accessing the assets. Most importantly, I needed ironclad evidence of Bradley's fraudulent intent. Recordings of his admissions, document analysis proving forgery, expert witness testimony about mental competency. The legal machinery was complex but manageable. Emergency filings with the probate court, protective orders against further document manipulation, criminal complaints with the district attorney. By dawn, every piece was positioned on the chessboard. My son thought he was playing checkers with a senile old man. He was about to discover he'd challenged a grandmaster. Diana Walsh's voice sounded concerned when I called her office Wednesday morning. "Samuel? My God, it's been years. How are you holding up since Elena passed?" "Diana, I need professional assistance immediately. Emergency situation involving estate fraud." Her tone shifted instantly. 30 years of friendship, but this was business now. "What's the nature of the emergency?" I explained Bradley's scheme in precise legal terminology. Document forgery, power of attorney abuse, attempted real estate fraud, elder financial abuse. Diana listened without interrupting, her legal mind processing the implications. "Samuel, these are serious felony charges. Are you certain about the facts?" "I have recorded admissions of fraudulent intent, documentary evidence of forged signatures, witness testimony available regarding my mental competency." The law was entirely on my side. "How quickly do you need protective action?" "He's filing fraudulent transfer documents today. I need emergency intervention before county records can process them." Diana's office could handle immediate emergency filings, protective orders, asset freezes, criminal complaint preparation. I can have preliminary injunctions filed within 2 hours, full fraud documentation by end of business today. Professional networks matter in legal practice. Diana knew the probate judges personally. She'd handled hundreds of elder abuse cases. Her reputation guaranteed immediate court attention. "Samuel, I have to ask, are you prepared for the family consequences? This will destroy your relationship with Bradley permanently." "Diana, My son is stealing my house and planning to abandon me in a substandard nursing home. The relationship is already destroyed. Then let's protect what you've built. I'll need you here immediately with every document you possess. Justice was finally in motion. Diana's conference room felt like a war room. Legal documents spread across the mahogany table, two paralegals working computers, emergency filing preparations moving at professional speed. Samuel, we're completely rewriting your estate structure. Everything Bradley thinks he controls becomes null and void. The new will was comprehensive. Specific language revoking all previous testamentary instruments, clear mental competency statements, detailed explanations for every decision, expert witness affidavits attached. Every signature Bradley thought he'd forged was now meaningless. The trust instrument was more sophisticated. Irrevocable asset protection trust with charitable remainder provisions. Professional trustee designation. Specific exclusions for any family member who'd attempted fraud against the grantor. Bradley wouldn't just lose his inheritance, he'd be permanently barred from any benefit. The house transfers to the Elena Crawford Children's Education Fund, Diana explained. Scholarship assistance for disadvantaged kids in the county. Your wife's memory honored appropriately. The charity was real, established, and grateful for major donations. They'd defend the trust vigorously against any challenge. Additional protective orders prevented Bradley from any further access to my accounts, documents, or financial information. Emergency guardianship procedures blocked any attempt at medical decision manipulation. We're also filing criminal complaints for the fraud already committed. Document forgery carries serious penalties in this state. But 3 notaries witnessed my signatures. Mental competency evaluation completed by licensed psychologist. Video documentation of the entire signing process. Legal protection that was absolutely bulletproof. Bradley will discover tomorrow that his father isn't as helpless as he assumed, Diana said grimly. This should be interesting. Timing would be critical. Bradley needed to complete his fraudulent filings before learning about my countermeasures. Let him commit maximum felony violations before the trap snapped shut. Diana, I want him to file the false documents. I want clear evidence of criminal intent, not just attempted fraud. Samuel, that's risky. What if the county processes his paperwork before we can stop it? Emergency injunctions can reverse fraudulent recordings immediately, but we need completed crimes for prosecution purposes. Diana understood. Elder fraud prosecutions required clear evidence of intent and completion. Attempted fraud was a misdemeanor. Completed real estate fraud was a felony with serious prison time. I'll coordinate with the county recorder's office. They'll flag any documents involving your property for immediate legal review. Nothing gets processed until we approve it. Professional courtesy between attorneys and court officials. Diana's reputation guaranteed cooperation. The notification sequence was carefully planned. Bradley would file his documents Thursday morning. County review would identify the fraud by noon. Emergency protective orders would freeze everything by 2 p.m. Bradley would receive legal notifications Friday afternoon after I'd disappeared. Where will you be during this process? Diana asked. Somewhere safe. Somewhere he can't find me or pressure me. This needs to happen without interference. A small apartment across town, month-to-month lease, unlisted phone, no forwarding address. Complete isolation till the legal machinery finished its work. He would learn the truth, but only after it was too late. Samuel, he's going to be furious, desperate, possibly dangerous. Diana, my son has already stolen my trust, my dignity, and my peace. He can't take anything else I value. Thursday morning, I signed the most important documents of my life. Not hunched over a laptop screen, squinting at electronic forms I couldn't read. These were real papers, professional preparation, legal language I understood completely. Each signature felt like reclaiming my power. The will revocation was comprehensive. I, Samuel Crawford, being of sound mind and under no duress, hereby revoke all previous wills, codicils, and testamentary instruments. Clear declarative language that no court could misinterpret. The trust documentation included specific findings about my mental capacity, psychological evaluation results, physicians' competency statements, video testimony of my understanding of each provision. This time, I knew exactly what I was signing. The charitable designation made Elena's wishes real. Her favorite children's hospital would receive the house proceeds. The Elena Crawford Scholarship Fund would help dozens of kids access higher education. Irrevocable trust meant Bradley could never change these designations. No court could reverse charitable transfers made by competent grantors. The criminal complaint was detailed and devastating. Specific dates of fraudulent conversations, exact quotes of admissions, documentary evidence of signature forgery. Diana's staff prepared multiple originals, filed copies with probate court, recorded instruments with county officials, served protective orders through sheriff's department, professional legal machinery moving at maximum efficiency. Bradley was filing his fraudulent documents about now. County officials were reviewing them for obvious irregularities. Court clerks were preparing rejection notices. My son thought he was stealing my house. Instead, he was creating evidence for his own prosecution. The trap was set. Justice was finally in motion. The Elena Crawford Children's Education Fund became real. Thursday afternoon, hospital administrators were thrilled to establish a permanent scholarship program honoring my wife's memory. Mr. Crawford, this is incredibly generous. The house proceeds will fund scholarships for decades. Elena would be so proud. I toured the children's hospital where Elena had volunteered for 15 years, reading to sick kids, organizing toy drives, creating art therapy programs. Her memorial plaque still hung in the main lobby. This was how Elena would have wanted it. The hospital's development director explained the scholarship structure. Need-based assistance for local high school graduates pursuing medical education, preference for students from disadvantaged backgrounds, annual awards ceremony honoring Elena's volunteer service, real impact, lasting legacy, purpose greater than family squabbles. We'll announce the fund establishment next week, local media coverage, community celebration of Elena's memory. The publicity would make Bradley's theft attempt even more embarrassing. Stealing from children's scholarships created terrible optics for any legal challenge. Your wife's generosity will help hundreds of kids over the years. This is beautiful, Mr. Crawford. I signed the final charitable documents in Elena's hospital volunteer office. Her reading chair still sat by the window. Her favorite books lined the shelves. The afternoon light hit everything just like she'd arranged it. This was what family legacy actually meant. Not preserving assets for ungrateful relatives, but creating lasting positive impact. Bradley would receive $1 and a clear message. The house would serve Elena's values forever. The children who benefited would never know about my son's betrayal. They'd only remember Elena's love. Perfect justice. Perfect peace. Friday morning, I packed 42 years of memories into 6 cardboard boxes. Elena's jewelry box with her wedding ring, photo albums from Bradley's childhood, her favorite books, coffee mugs, the quilt her mother made. I was only taking what truly mattered. The wedding china stayed, the furniture stayed, even most of my clothes stayed, material things that could be replaced or that no longer brought joy. Elena's reading glasses went into the box. I'd find them on her nightstand 3 years ago, folded neatly beside her final book, some romance novel she'd never finished. Her bookmark still marked page 247. The toolbox from our house-building days came with me, not because I'd need the tools, but because every hammer and screwdriver held memories of our partnership. Elena holding boards steady while I hammered, both of us covered in sawdust and paint, building our dreams together. Bradley's baby photos went into the box. Not because I wanted them anymore, but because someone should remember what he used to be. The innocent child we'd raised with such love and hope. My law school diploma and bar admission certificate. 40 years of professional accomplishment that Bradley had dismissed as irrelevant, outdated, worthless. 6 boxes for 4 decades of life. The rest could rot in the house Bradley thought he was stealing. By noon, everything that mattered was loaded in my car. Bradley called Friday afternoon, his voice cheerful and false. "Dad, how are you feeling today? You seemed tired last night." I hadn't spoken to him since Tuesday dinner. Another lie in his growing collection. I'm fine, son. Just organizing some things. That's great, Dad. Listen, I'll be by tomorrow to help with those legal documents we discussed. Just a few more signatures to finalize everything. I watched them play their roles perfectly. Jennifer called an hour later. Samuel, I'm making your favorite pot roast tomorrow. You shouldn't eat alone so much. Family dinner at 6? Such concern, such thoughtfulness, such perfect acting. That sounds lovely, Jennifer. I'll see you then. By tomorrow evening, they'd know everything. The county recorder would have rejected their fraudulent documents. Diana's legal notifications would have arrived. Criminal investigation would have begun. But I wouldn't be there to witness their discovery. Dad, maybe afterward we can watch some of those old movies you like. Make it a nice family evening. Bradley's voice carried satisfaction. He thought victory was within reach. One more signature session, one more manipulation of his confused father. They had no idea I'd already disappeared from their trap. Tomorrow they'd arrive for dinner and find empty rooms. Silent house, no forwarding address, no explanation, just consequences for their betrayal. The performance was almost over. Saturday dawn was clear and cold. I loaded the last box into my car while the neighborhood slept. Mrs. Henderson's newspapers lay uncollected. Mr. Davis's garage remained closed. No witnesses to my disappearance. I left my house keys on Elena's reading table beside her favorite lamp. The gesture felt right. She'd always set them there after long shopping trips or church visits. The garage door opener went on the kitchen counter. Utility account information in a labeled folder. Everything organized for whoever would eventually handle property transitions. No note, no explanation, no emotional goodbye letter. Bradley would find exactly what he deserved: silence. I disappeared without giving them the confrontation they deserved. The drive across town took 15 minutes. My new apartment was small, furnished, anonymous. 1 bedroom, basic kitchen, enough space for 6 boxes of memories. The landlord was discreet, professional. Month-to-month lease, utilities included. No questions about previous address or family situation. Welcome to Sunset Manor Apartments, Mr. Crawford. I think you'll find it peaceful here. Peaceful. After months of manipulation and betrayal, peace sounded like paradise. I unpacked Elena's photograph first. Her smile looked approving in the simple apartment. This was exactly what she'd want. Dignity preserved, independence maintained, family toxicity eliminated. By evening, Bradley and Jennifer would discover their trap had collapsed. But I'd be unreachable, untouchable, finally free. The apartment felt like sanctuary. No memories of betrayal, no echoes of manipulation, just quiet spaces where I could rebuild dignity. I arranged Elena's photograph on the small dining table, her reading glasses beside it. The morning light through new windows hit her face exactly right. New phone number, unlisted in directories. Email account with anonymous username. Netflix subscription for entertainment. Library card. For books. Elena would have enjoyed. The simplicity was liberating. Minimal furniture meant minimal maintenance. Basic utilities meant basic bills. Small space meant maximum privacy. Diana called Saturday afternoon. Samuel, the county rejected Bradley's documents this morning. Obvious forgery flags in their fraud detection system. He's scheduled to receive legal notifications Monday. And the criminal complaint? Filed with the district attorney. They're reviewing evidence for prosecution decisions. Elder fraud cases get priority attention. Now, all I had to do was wait for the call. Sunday afternoon, I sat in Elena's reading chair, the only piece of furniture I'd brought from the house. The book she'd never finished lay open on my lap. Page 247, romance novel about second chances and new beginnings. I started reading where she'd stopped. Outside, children played in the apartment complex courtyard. Their laughter reminded me why Elena loved working with kids. The scholarship fund would continue her legacy far better than any family inheritance. Peace. Finally, perfect peace. The phone rang Monday at 11:47 p.m. Bradley's number on the caller ID. I let it ring 6 times before answering. Dad? His voice shook like a child's caught stealing candy. Hello, Bradley. Dad, where are you? We came for dinner Saturday and the house was empty. All your things are gone. We've been looking everywhere. I said nothing. Let him fill the silence with panic. Dad, there's been some kind of mistake. The county rejected our property transfer. They're saying something about fraud. There are legal papers here with your signature on them, but that's impossible because I'm too stupid to understand legal documents? The silence stretched between us like a canyon. Dad, I don't know what you think you heard, but I heard everything, Bradley. Jennifer asking about nursing home costs. You calculating profit margins on my house sale. Your laughter about my arthritis making signatures easier to forge. His breathing grew ragged, desperate. Dad, you're confused. We would never. I have recordings, son. Complete conversations about your fraud scheme. The district attorney is reviewing criminal charges. Jennifer's voice screamed something in the background. Their marriage was imploding in real time. Where are you? We need to talk about this. Face to face, like family. We stopped being family when you called me too stupid to notice your theft. The phone clicked. For the first time in months, I'd ended a conversation with my son. Outside my new apartment, night settled peacefully over the courtyard. The calls came every hour for the next 2 days. Bradley's number, then Jennifer's, then numbers I didn't recognize. Family members recruited to find me. Friends asked to check my usual places. Messages filled my voicemail. Dad, please call back. We can fix this misunderstanding. Samuel, this is Jennifer. Bradley's having a breakdown. He needs medical attention. Please tell us where you are. Uncle Samuel? This is Mike. Bradley says you've disappeared. Are you safe? Should we call the police? They had no idea how thoroughly I'd planned my exit. Diana fielded legal inquiries from Bradley's hastily hired attorney. My client is concerned about his father's mental state. The old man seems confused about recent family financial planning. Tell Mr. Bradley's counsel that my client is perfectly competent, Diana responded. Mental capacity evaluations are available for court review. His understanding of recent events is crystal clear. Police wellness checks were requested and denied. No crime had been committed. A competent adult had chosen to relocate without informing family members. Mr. Crawford left voluntarily, the responding officer told Bradley. We have no grounds for investigation. The search expanded to former colleagues, old neighbors, law school classmates, but my professional network had instructions to protect my privacy. Retirement had created natural distance from work relationships. Church members hadn't seen me since Elena's funeral. Medical appointments were transferred to new providers. Even my pharmacy records showed medications picked up across town. Everything they'd counted on was crumbling. The isolation they'd created to enable their fraud now prevented them from finding me. Perfect ironic justice. Bradley's business creditors had been patient during our family financial reorganization. They'd expected house sale proceeds to settle outstanding debts. When the property transfer failed, patience evaporated overnight. Mr. Crawford owes us $63,000. Payment was due last Friday. We're initiating collection proceedings immediately. The cascade of collection calls, demand letters, and legal threats accelerated. Business loans came due. Credit lines were called. Equipment financing required immediate settlement. House they planned to steal was now unreachable. Jennifer's panic was audible through apartment walls. Bradley had moved back to their mortgaged house, but domestic tranquility was destroyed. Shouting matches, door slamming, children crying. You promised this would work. You said your father was helpless. Now we're losing everything. The marriage was fracturing under financial pressure. Jennifer's family offered temporary support while she evaluated options. Translation: divorce attorneys were being consulted. Bradley's professional reputation suffered as business associates learned about the fraud charges. Networking contacts disappeared. Partnership opportunities evaporated. Industry colleagues avoided association with criminal proceedings. Within 2 weeks, the business was closed. Bankruptcy proceedings initiated. Personal assets liquidated to satisfy creditor claims. The $850,000 inheritance that was supposed to save them remained forever out of reach, protected by irrevocable trust instruments and charitable designations. Everything they'd counted on was crumbling. Their greed had created a financial disaster far worse than the original business problems. Instead of solving their money troubles, the fraud attempt had accelerated their complete financial destruction. Natural consequences for attempted theft. Justice was working perfectly. Legal proceedings created public records. Local newspaper business section reported Bradley's bankruptcy filing, mentioning ongoing family litigation and elder fraud investigations. Community gossip followed predictable patterns: coffee shop conversations, church social discussions, neighborhood speculation about the Crawford family situation. Former friends distanced themselves. Business networking contacts stopped returning calls. School parents whispered when Bradley picked up his children. Henderson told anyone who'd listen about that awful boy trying to steal his poor father's house. Mr. Davis shared his opinion that some people have no shame about betraying family. Elena's hospital volunteer friends organized support for the scholarship fund. Their fundraising efforts included pointed comments about protecting Elena's legacy from ungrateful relatives. The social consequences were devastating for someone whose business had depended on community reputation and professional relationships. Jennifer filed separation papers within a month. She moved back to her mother's house with the children, citing irreconcilable differences and financial irresponsibility. Bradley's custody schedule became supervised visits. The divorce proceedings would examine his fitness as a parent, particularly regarding criminal fraud charges and financial mismanagement. Even his children began questioning their father's behavior. 10-year-old Jake asked Jennifer, "Why did Daddy try to steal from Grandpa Samuel?" But the final lesson was still coming. The community had watched Bradley disrespect me for months. They'd witnessed his patronizing treatment, his dismissive attitude, his systematic destruction of my dignity. Now they were seeing the consequences of betraying family trust, the complete collapse that follows when greed overcomes love. Some lessons can only be learned through public humiliation. The certified letter arrived on a Tuesday morning 6 weeks after I'd disappeared. Bradley's hands shook as he signed for delivery. The return address read, Law Offices of Diana Walsh, Attorney at Law. Inside the official envelope, a single sheet of paper. Law firm letterhead. Professional formatting. 2 sentences in the center of the page. Paper crisp as winter air. Bradley read the words once, twice, 3 times, each reading bringing deeper understanding of his complete defeat. Jennifer, collecting belongings for their final property division, found him sitting on the living room floor. The letter lay open beside him. His face was pale, expressionless. "What is it?" she asked, though their relationship was too broken for genuine concern. Bradley handed her the paper without speaking. Jennifer read the sentences aloud, her voice growing quieter with each word. "What does this mean?" she whispered. "It means we lost everything," Bradley said. "Dad gave the house to charity. The whole $850,000. Gone." Elena's photograph had been attached to the letter. A copy of the hospital's scholarship fund announcement. Details about the children who would benefit from the Elena Crawford Education Fund. "Forever," Bradley repeated, understanding the finality. "The trust is irrevocable. We can never touch that money." Jennifer set the letter on the mantel and left without another word. Bradley sat alone in the empty house, holding his father's final communication. 43 years of love, reduced to 2 sentences. The letter contained exactly what I'd promised Diana it would contain. No lengthy explanations, no emotional accusations, no bitter recriminations about betrayal and theft. Just truth, delivered with surgical precision. "You called me too stupid to notice. I notice everything." Beneath that, in smaller print, the legal consequences. Your inheritance from the estate of Samuel Crawford consists of $1, as specified in the attached will provisions. The hospital's scholarship announcement was included. Elena's memorial fund would help dozens of children pursue medical educations. Real legacy, lasting impact, purpose greater than personal greed. But the power was in the simplicity. 2 sentences that demolished Bradley's entire worldview. His assumptions about his father's intelligence, his confidence in his manipulation abilities, his certainty that love and trust could be exploited without consequences. I notice everything. 4 words that meant I'd been aware of his disrespect for months. I'd seen his eye rolls, his patronizing tone, his dismissive attitude. I'd watched him destroy my dignity and reputation systematically, but I'd also been planning, strategizing, using 40 years of legal expertise to craft perfect justice. The dollar inheritance was symbolic but devastating, not complete disinheritance, which might be legally challenged, but the minimum amount required to acknowledge him as an heir while demonstrating complete rejection of his character. $1 for a son who'd called his father too stupid to notice theft. Mathematical precision and emotional punishment. Perfect justice, delivered with professional restraint. I never saw Bradley again after that letter arrived. Diana handled all subsequent legal communications. The divorce proceedings, the criminal prosecution, the business bankruptcy. A once promising life destroyed by greed and betrayal. The scholarship fund announcement appeared in the local newspaper 3 months later. Elena's photograph beside details about the children who'd received education assistance, medical school scholarships, nursing program funding, real impact from real generosity. At the award ceremony, I sat in the back row. 12 high school graduates received Elena Crawford scholarships. Kids from disadvantaged backgrounds who'd never had opportunities for higher education. Their gratitude was genuine, their potential unlimited, their futures bright because Elena's legacy lived on through generosity instead of family greed. After the ceremony, I drove past our old house. New owners had updated the landscaping. Elena's rose garden was gone, replaced by modern minimalist design. But the building remained solid, well-maintained, loved. Better in new hands than rotting under Bradley's resentment. My apartment had become home. Simple furniture, meaningful memories, peaceful silence. Elena's photograph still smiled from the dining table. Her reading glasses still lay beside unfinished books. No regrets about cutting toxic family ties. No second thoughts about protecting assets from manipulation. Some relationships cannot be repaired when trust is destroyed completely. Respect isn't inherited, it's earned. Bradley had earned exactly what he received, the consequences of his choices. And I had earned something more valuable than money. I had earned back my dignity.